Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Metal video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the Cell Max unit and just how good he is at 55% in the hit potential system. Now I did not get Cell Max when he first came out, but I was very lucky to get him on a banner now, Carnival banner. So that's great. I didn't have to wait too long to pick him up. Really good favorable RNG for me. Cell is a legendary summon unit, so he is on yellow coin banners or carnival banners. Artificial life forms or super bosses lead of 150%. Greatly raises attack for 1 turn on his 12 key. Greatly raises attack on his 18 key, whilst also lowering attack and defense, which is pretty good. He activates the entrance animation once only and will have attack and defense of 100%. Guards all his attacks and launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack for 3 turns from the character's entry turn when there's another artificial life form or super bosses category ally on the team. He has key plus 5, attack and defense of 300%, and has an additional key plus 1 with every attack performed, and attack of 20% up to 100%, and key plus 1 up to 5, and defense at 20% up to 100% with each attack received. Launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack. He then has an additional 250% defense and damage reduction of 30% when all allies attacking in the same turn are artificial life forms, super bosses, or movie bosses category characters. It's super important to note that you need to have only one type of these categories. If you have super bosses and a movie boss, but they don't share that, it won't count. He gets an additional 250% attack and 30% crit chance when there are no superheroes category allies, and he launches an additional super attack within the same turn after receiving an attack. So he's pretty good. Links are Android Assault, Infighter, Berserker, Big Bad Bosses, Nightmare, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power. And he's on Androids, Artificial Life Forms, Battle of Fate, Final Trump Card, Movie Bosses, Super Bosses, and Uncontrollable Power. His best teams are going to be the ones where he can fill out his whole passive. So generally speaking, for me, I find that Super Bosses is pretty solid because you obviously can meet all the requirements. Movie Heroes is really good because you can meet all the requirements. Uncontrollable Power is also fine because you can meet all the requirements by having movie bosses category characters only. So you can generally meet his requirements on quite a few of his teams. It's not necessarily that you can't achieve it on any of them. Androids, obviously, you're looking more at the artificial life form side of things. Now, in terms of Cell Max, he's really good. So defense-wise, starting off at like the 400s, 500,000s, he will end up at like the million. That's just how his defense works with like the additive from getting hit and everything. He'll end up being at like 800, 900k. With Big Bad Bosses, he'll be sitting close to a million. This is at 55%. It's the same for his attack stats. He'll start at like 10, 12 million, and then he'll slowly work his way all the way up to 25 million. And, look pretty good doing that as well. Again, no Big Bad Bosses active. With Big Bad Bosses active, he's probably looking at like a million defense and close to 30 million in attack stat, all at 25%, with a 30-40% support on the rotation. So he's very good. His active skill is great, massively raising his attack, causing ultimate damage, and also giving him defense at 99%, which 999%. So that means that his defense goes from like 800k to like 9.9 million, which is pretty nuts. I don't think we'll see a super attack that can eat through that. Although nowadays with attacks being already at like 5 million, you never know. You might see that get exceeded one day. For Cell Max, honestly speaking, he's a great unit. I think he does everything really well. There is questions that can be raised about his defense in situations where there's a type disadvantage. A million defense, 30% damage reduction isn't enough to handle like 3 million supers. Like it's not enough to handle like the absolute end of everything. Like 3 million minus the million, it's 2 mil, 30% reduction on that. You're looking still at taking quite a bit. Supers have become worse. If you have him rainbow, he's sitting then at like 1.6, 1.7. It reduces the damage from like the hardest hitting supers to like 1.3. Then you apply the 30% damage reduction. Like, it's possible, it's possible definitely for him to survive type neutrals. I think at a rainbow level, definitely tanks them pretty well. At 55%, you can be caught out, is what I'm trying to say, in certain situations. Generally speaking, though, with the 3 turns guard, with the 3 turns 30%, with the 3 turn guard, on top of that, you apply his active skill, which you can use. And, he generally gets like to turn 6 or 7, like with everything intact, and he does huge damage. So it's not just like, oh, he's a decent tank. Like, he's a very good tank, but also, you don't have to use his active skill straight away. Like, especially early on in fights, you're not going to have a lot of problems with him defensively. In fact, I'd probably say only in the final phase of a couple fights you'll have issues. You can use then his active skill. This will then secure him another turn. It secures you another turn as well. And his damage during this time will be pretty big. Give or take, you're looking at 25, 30 million attack stats, critting, follow-up attacks. And at the rainbow level, it gets even better. So for me, I think Cell Max is great. Tiny bit restricted by category, but I think overall, just an excellent unit. Really, there's not too much for me to complain about. I think his design is great. I think he meshes really well with a lot of teams. I think Super Bosses has a great team right now, with a variation with Tech Broly and Cell Max operating as tanks on either side. That's the team you saw me use here. I think it's absolutely great. I think he's great on movie bosses as well for a similar thing. So yeah, I think overall, for me, Cell Max is awesome. And I think he does a great job, and I think he can really help out with tanking. Especially now with Int Broly, like double Int Broly lineup. If you've got a Cell Max and you've got a full movie bosses team, and you can get pretty crazy with everything. So I think nowadays it's a really, really good team and a really, really good unit. And he's thriving right now. Lots of teams where he can fit on as a floater or a tank or tons of that. Just on the Broly team, just be careful you won't have big red bosses. Doesn't need it to be great, but it does elevate him to a new level. But you can get Berserker, so it's a give or take situation. For me, Cell Max looks really awesome. I think he's great, and I think he's a great 55% unit. So very happy to have him, and bye.